Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Can you hear me? Okay. There's sort of an echo in the back there. To call this February 27th, 2019 meeting of the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority to order. Trustee Pablo Rael is excused and all other members are present. We'll begin with a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance led by our Vice Chair, Clarissa Pena. Thank you. The next item is approval of minutes. I move to approve the January 30th, 2019 minutes. Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. 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 All opposed say no. The motion carries. We have no proclamations and awards. We next go to public comment. And we have anybody signed up to speak?
We have one, Elaine Hebard.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
I'd like to address, even though it's not been given yet, John Fleck's study on governance. It's OB 19.6. In 3 minutes, I won't actually be able to detail many of the issues that I have with the study, but I'd like to summarize some of them. One, there are a variety of ways that municipal water utilities were created, but all, if not all of them, nearly all, were done by voters or their representatives, not having it imposed by the legislature. The second issue is there are a variety of ways that governance of water utilities is done. It might be by an appointed board, an elected board, one that has an advisory committee. Tucson, for example, has a 17-member advisory board with a long list of things that they provide advice to their board. Denver has not only an appointed board, but they have a semi-independent advisory board. Mr. Fleck also didn't mention that when the water utility was under the guise of the city, or the guidance of the city, there was the Legislative Council, which provided a layer of oversight, which was lost in the transition over to be the Water Utility Authority. Also not mentioned is that there are two direct elected boards right here in Bernalillo County dealing with water, AMAFCA and MRGCD. And those elections will all be collapsed and be held on the same date under the new law. Furthermore, he mentions a lot of positives, and I think we should give kudos to the amount of water savings that the utility has given. But there's a lot of other issues that are not mentioned, including the high debt. It's now $883 million almost. That's about the same as Albuquerque has, but with 1/4 of the revenue stream. 60 additional unplanned debt, backlog and growing of infrastructure needs, and just, I'm sorry I didn't have you put the light on, but there's one that I would just show you that's not actually presented to the board, but is posted, and that is the infrastructure comparisons with all of the other utilities in the country, those that are over 500, those in the west. You'll notice the red line, that's the water utility. It's quite a ways in the back. Finally, I would just say that water is going to become more and more incredibly important for everybody to be focused on, whatever it may mean to you. And I think that there were a number of suggestions that have been made in addition to a direct elected board, which could be looked at. I would request this board appoint a work group, to look at how better to improve the oversight and administration of the Water Utility Authority. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Carrillo, that was okay.
It.
So next is item 6, announcements and communication. The next scheduled meeting is on March 20th, 2019 at 5 p.m. in these chambers. So in terms of moving the agenda, you have here to move up item 10A. That would be our next item, right? Okay. That would be the water conservation update. Carlos Bustos. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Well, we had a great winter so far. Hey, so 2018, our customers did a great job in conserving water. Current per capita usage for 2018 is 125. Our goal was 128, so we're a little bit ahead of the game in regards to the goals that we set forth with the update of the water conservation plan. The second graph, where you're seeing is a comparison between 2017 water usage and the bars. 2017 is the green bars, and 2018 is the red bars. And then you're also looking at rainfall. And rainfall is the lines. Green is the rainfall events or total precipitation of 9.3 inches in 2017. And then 2018, we had a really good monsoon season all the way through the fall, and that last day in the winter, December 26th, I think it was, we got a pretty good 8 inches of snow. So 2018 is the red line. And what we're starting to see is that customers respond quite well whenever we got really good wet years. We want to actually do a study and find out the relation and do a survey and see, study a little bit more the behavior. But nevertheless, there were some areas of Albuquerque that got up to 16 inches in 2018. So that's great. The average is in 2018 was about 11.3 inches for the total greater Albuquerque area. So we saved almost 800 million gallons compared to 2017 and 2018. Customers did amazing in improving their irrigation efficiency, all while planting 1,500 trees in Albuquerque via the tree bait program, and converting almost 600,000 square feet of high water use turf to desert-friendly landscapes. That's my report.
Are there any questions? Councillor Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I just want to say thank you and congratulations for all your work. I know when we were looking at bringing the number of gallons down to 150, we thought that was very aggressive and could we get it done? And now we're talking 125. That's incredible work, and I want to thank the users across the city and Bernalillo County for, basically doing their job also in conserving water here in this community.
Thank you. Hey, we got great customers, so it's all on them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. This next is the 10B, the Rivers and Aquifers Protection Plan. Diane Agnew, welcome.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. I am very excited to be here tonight to present to you the final Rivers and Aquifers Protection Plan, formerly known as the Water Quality Protection Policy and Action Plan, or the WQAP. Our customers actually selected the new name of the Rivers and Aquifers Protection Plan, which I think is a much more descriptive and simple title. I'd also like to point out that we were the recipients of the AWWA 2018 award for outstanding or exemplary source water protection. So we were one of many large utilities that applied for the award, and we were granted it last year. So we are still very excited to be holding that title. So source water protection, and this graphic I have presented to the board before, but I really like it because it captures the simplicity and also the complexity of source water protection. It is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing process that we must do as we continue to grow, as we continue to receive information about our sources, our surface water and groundwater sources. And one of the first steps to this that's not captured on here, though, is identifying your sources. So in the case of Albuquerque, we have the source water of the surface water, the Rio San Juan Chama surface water. We have our reservoirs where that water moves through, and then we also have our groundwater sources. And so in order to look at those sources, how to protect them, we look at what are the potential and known threats. And this is done through a multi-layered evaluation that I'll discuss very briefly. Then we ask ourselves, what can we do to mitigate these threats and prevent any impacts to the sources? And then the other part of this is who do we need to work with to accomplish those protection measures and the mitigation of these threats? So as you all know, in Water 2120 had multiple policies. Policy H in Water 2120 actually specifically called for the updating of the WQAP. So as of the time of Water 2020, the Water Quality Policy, Protection Policy and Action Plan, the existing source water protection plan, was updated in 2009, and at that time they added a surface water component to the source water protection. But they had not done a full assessment of that particular source. So we kicked off in January 2018, updating the WQAP. It's okay. And that began with a source water assessment. So we went back and we said, hey, let's go and look at surface water. Let's do a complete source water assessment for surface water. And while we're at it, let's update groundwater too. We did a multi-level stakeholder involvement. We did 4 customer conversations. We engaged our customers in the 4 different quadrants, got their feedback on the plan, including naming it, as I mentioned. What are some things that they did not know about their role in source water protection? What are some things that we can do to engage them and let them have a more enhanced role in source water protection? We participated in multiple board meetings. We took advantage of the Policy and Implementation Committee. That's technical representatives from the city and the county and AMAFCA. And we also posted it for public comment and review. We engaged Urban Waters. So we really did our best to engage as many people in our community as possible so that we could get a complete look at not just what the known and potential sources of contamination are, but what existing measures can we either enhance or promote, or where are there gaps that we needed to step in on. So as I mentioned, this includes comprehensive source water assessments, and then we also identified protection measures and activities that the Water Authority could undertake to protect our water supply. Source water assessment, it's a fairly standardized approach now through the EPA on how to evaluate our sources. And there's 3 basic steps to it: delineate, inventory, and determine. So delineate first, that's to say, what are the areas that we would like to protect? In the case of our Water Authority source water assessments, we identified each individual water supply well as a groundwater source water protection area. And then for the river, our surface water component, we looked at 15 river miles upriver from our diversion, and then we also looked at Cochiti and Abiquiu reservoirs. We set a buffer zone around each of those sources so that we could look at not just that point, but also an area around that point so that we could be protective. And then we did an inventory of all the potential sources of contamination. We worked with the New Mexico Environment Department. We worked with the databases posted online for the city of Albuquerque, Bernalillo County, also the Department of Transportation. And we mined all of that data, pulled it together into a single database, and created an inventory for our sources. And then based on that, we looked at susceptibility. Susceptibility really is a combination of what's our vulnerability and what's our sensitivity. Vulnerability is what are the threats, and sensitivity is what can we do to mitigate those threats. And then that would give us an overall score. So one of the things I thought was really neat about our approach is my counterpart Kate and I started with the source water assessments. We just said, what does the data tell us what we should do? So each assessment came up with its own series of recommendations. And then we went from the recommendations and we said, okay, what are we doing and what do we need to do? And the great news is that many of the recommendations from these assessments, the Water Authority is already doing. One of the things that the groundwater assessment, for example, pointed out is that we have known groundwater contamination, for example, the Kirtland bulk fuel spill or the lawn dry plume. And in those cases of groundwater contamination, we would want to consider increasing monitoring of our water supply wells in close proximity to make sure we're keeping an eye on it. We are already doing that. Another example of increased monitoring would be just looking at our wells. Annually we voluntarily take on more monitoring than is federally required, and that was one of the recommendations that came out of the assessments. The other recommendation was continued coordination and collaboration with the city, county, and state. We're already doing that. So we'll continue doing that and keep looking for opportunities to enhance that or increase it. Public outreach, it was really key. That's something that we got out of our customer conversations. Our customers are very eager to help and take an active role in source water protection. And so we did identify areas that we could continue to outreach and engage our customers and work with the city and county on opportunities that they have to inform our customers. And then take a living document approach. So this source water protection plan will be updated every 3 to 5 years or as major changes occur. So for example, if we become aware of a change in the database or we have a change in one of our operations, we will look at the source water protection plan real time to make changes. So why are we here tonight? I'm very excited to say we are final. We have gone through the public comment. We've addressed all the comments, and we are posting it final. So we have moved to a source water protection plan that's more comprehensive, more representative of our system, and represents the Water Authority's policy through Water 2120 and how we're going to, we envision ourselves moving forward. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Agnew?
I don't have any
Sanchez.
questions, I just have a comment. Under connection to Water 2120, we heard the rap music, and it says the rap is the Water Authority's Source Water Protection Plan. So you
That was-
choreographed that with
Thank you for that.
No other questions and comments? Thank you very much, Ms. Agnew.
Thank you.
Next, we go to 10C, a presentation, the governance study by John Fleck, UNM Water Resources Program. Welcome, Mr. Fleck.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. On behalf of the University of New Mexico and the Water Resources Program, I think there's a couple of important things that we at the university can do to help you. One of them is folks sitting in the audience, Kate, Rick Sheen, graduates of the Water Resources Program, helping build capacity in the workforce. And one of the things that we can do is bring some of our expertise to bear when y'all have questions for which some research and information might help inform a government decision-making process. And that's really the role here. The water utility came to me. I'm a professor of practice in the Department of Economics and Water Policy and Governance with the question, could you look at governance structures around municipal water utilities and provide some sort of foundational information that might help us think about this question about how the water utility is governed now, how that fits into the broader scope of municipal water utility governance more generally in the United States and especially in the West. And then looking at some specific sort of comparisons, and this goes back to the kind of work I used to do at the newspaper, trying to understand how what happens in Albuquerque compares to things that are done and things that are happening in the same fields in other places. So I want to go over a few key findings from the study, and you all have the study available, and you can look at it in detail. It was a lot of fun not being at the newspaper and being able to write a really long academic report for y'all. I got to be long and boring and much more detailed and spend more time on it. So please read the whole thing, really. So I looked at more specifically at municipal water governance in New Mexico and the West to understand how other municipalities are doing this. Key findings more broadly about what we know about the performance of different structures of municipal water governance in the West and in arid places. And then some of the key metrics to help us understand how Albuquerque's Water Utility Authority performance compares to other utilities and other municipal water agencies across the West. And again, I focused on the West, I focused on the Western United States, because the set of issues we face in these arid climates, especially within the boundary of the Colorado River Basin and those areas adjacent to it, like Albuquerque that are using its water, provide the most useful comparisons for thinking about how we're operating. One of the underlying points to understand is that large water utilities in the West are almost entirely part of or closely related to a municipal government. And in fact, if you look at the history of municipal water management in the United States and the history of municipal governance in the United States, much of the sort of modern city structure, city government structure, arose out of the initial challenge of collective management of water and wastewater in places like Philadelphia and Boston and New York and Chicago. The modern city, as we now know it, as a city government, as a creature of government, in significant measure grew up around the challenge of managing water resources. That was the first really big collective community management challenge that provided the foundations for a bunch of other municipal governance that followed, things like roads and police and fire. Here in New Mexico, the 10 largest the 10 largest water utilities, 8 of them are directly part of city government. One is private, Clovis, is regulated by the PRC, and then one is a special district, which is what we are here, the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority, with a governance structure that draws from both city and county government. So we are closely connected to municipal government through you all, but we are corporately separate from, the water utility is corporately separate from the municipal governance. A relatively unusual structure. Across the West, I looked in detail at 39 utilities. I focused on the 7 Colorado River Basin states and looked at essentially the largest utilities in those states. I looked at all of the utilities that are our size or larger and down to, you know, half our size to kind of get a comparable universe. In some states I went to studied smaller utilities just to get a large enough data sample size. 30 of them are part of city government directly, of these 39 that I studied. 9 are special districts, most linked directly or indirectly to cities and counties like us. There are 4 that involved directly elected boards and directly elected separate governance entities. And really only 2 that are of the same size and scale as Albuquerque's, the Irvine Ranch Water District in Southern California and Orange County, and the East Bay Municipal Utility District, which is in the East Bay, San Francisco Bay Area. Both of these are quite different than what might be contemplated here in Albuquerque. Both of these are areas where you have a large number of smaller municipalities that essentially grew up into one large, sprawling metropolitan area with a bunch of separate city governments within it. And it made sense from the beginning to provide regional water service, and that's what East Bay Mud and Irvine Ranch Water District are. I'm going to come back to some of the problems that the folks academics who have studied these talk about in terms of Irvine Ranch and East Bay Mud, some of the challenges we face. And then there's another really interesting example that I'd like to focus on in a little bit of detail, which is Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs has a separate municipal utility which is corporately completely separate from city government, and it provides not only sewer and water but also other utility services. Its board of directors is also the city council. So they literally will have one meeting where they're the city council for part of the meeting, and then they will adjourn and reconvene as the board of the water utility. And so it kind of looks like a separate municipal governance entity, but in terms of community involvement, it's the same city councilors who run it. Colorado Springs went through a long process that just concluded within a little more than a year ago to consider spinning it off and having its own separately elected board. And it was a really interesting process that they went through, which is perhaps instructive as we might think about how we govern ourselves here. A rich, extensive community discussion, a lot of analytical work. They hired a bunch of consultants to look at models around the country, a bunch of detailed review, and ultimately they concluded to leave the system the way it was. They decided that having their city councilors making the decisions about the utility management made sense for them. One of the important things, and I meant to mention this at the beginning, but I want to point out, is my goal here is not to recommend any particular form of governance. It's just to provide some foundational information as folks in the community, as you all, state legislators, folks in the community, think about what different governance structures might mean. If you look at the academic literature on this, and I did an extensive literature review, and people talk about some of the advantages of directly elected boards for various kinds of municipal government. And one of the key advantages that's frequently pointed to is that you can have a board that can specialize in the subject matter at hand. So for example, you all have to think about water, and you have to think about fire protection and law enforcement, and you have a whole series of issues, and so your minds are spread across a whole bunch of technical expertise that you have to master for decision making. A directly elected board allows a board that can focus specifically on one thing, become specialists in this, and this was part of the discussion in Colorado Springs. There was a desire to have more, on the part of those who wanted a directly elected board, to have more specialization. It also allows the voters to focus on one specific issue. So when the voters elect you, they may not know much about your water policy views and may vote based on what they understand about your views toward law enforcement. And then your views on water then kind of get bundled in the part of the voters. And so that's one of the advantages of a directly elected system. A couple of disadvantages that are really important. And then this goes back to the East Bay Mud and Irvine Ranch examples. One is low voter attention. Elections on government agencies that voters are not paying much attention to don't get a lot of voter attention. And so the result is that there's a risk of special interest capture. And this has been the problematic argument about these special boards in California. In California, while it only has a handful of large water agencies, has a long tradition of directly elected boards in other governance areas, and has had significant difficulties with special interest capture, rent-seeking behavior on the part of boards that the voters are just not paying attention to. And then there's a second really interesting finding, and this is political scientists who have studied water agency performance actually in a couple of places, especially in Texas, but also in California, where you have a lot better data than we do in New Mexico on water use. There's a nice bill in the legislature to fund more water data. And one of the interesting findings, which is counterintuitive, is that water agencies with directly elected boards were slower to respond to drought. They were less likely to make the difficult choices necessary to raise rates, to impose conservation measures, as opposed to city councils who had more. I mean, the political scientists' argument about this is that the city councilors, folks like you, have more broad standing in the community to say we need to make tough sacrifices, and are less worried about not getting reelected because the special interest voter is going to be mad because they raised their water rates. So I want to talk about a couple of the specific performance measures that I looked at to provide some broad comparisons to better understand how we're doing here as compared to other cities in the West. And I really focused on two measures. One was financial performance and one was on water performance. And I focused specifically on water conservation because that has been a priority for this agency for the whole time I've been living in Albuquerque and paying attention to what this agency does. The graph there is rising demand in the Colorado River Basin. We depend on the Colorado River Basin for our water supply, sharing it with 7 other western states. And so the ability of our performance as part of this broader regime is incredibly important. Albuquerque, among the municipal areas in the 7 states of the Colorado River Basin, has the best water conservation performance, both per capita, but also in terms of total water use. And I think that, we have our cupcakes today, right? I mean, this is a really important, success story. And then there has been public discussion about the fiscal health of the agency and the financial performance of the Water Utility Authority. So I turned, and this was actually with the help of one of my graduate students who's studying municipal finance issues, looking for appropriate measures to kind of best do comparisons. And we settled on debt service coverage, which is a measure chosen by the Water Research Foundation in its model for a resilient municipal utility as a way of measuring municipal utilities' financial health, how much debt you have versus how much revenue you have in support of paying off that debt. It's very difficult to do the comparative work to decide which kind of governance structures do best in this. The data's just all over the map, but our debt service coverage performance is outstanding, right in the range that is recommended. If your debt load is too low, you're not borrowing enough money for future capital. If your debt load is too high, you don't have enough revenue stream to pay off your current debt. So debt service coverage is one of those critical measures. And then, simply cash on hand, which is another measure of how well the resources are being managed. And in both of those areas, we're meeting the benchmarks that the Water Research Foundation suggests and the EPA suggests are good goals, good targets for healthy and resilient municipal water management. So with that, I stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Fleck. I do have a couple of comments, but does anyone else have any comments? Commissioners, councilors?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Thank you for this. This is great information because, one of the things that we always are talking about is and you touched on it, is really making this a special interest kind of target due to low turnout rate to voters. And when you live in a state where, we're at a point where economic development is a key factor on how this city is growing, my concern is that you have developers pouring a lot of money into an election because a lot of the times what we're deciding up here is water use and how they're using water. And so that's a fine line that we walk when you open, for lack of a better word, the floodgates to that kind of I think, misuse of power, I think. So that has a big concern for me. I think you made some really valid points that people who, and although we do sometimes have to look at, infrastructure and lighting and zoning and those things as an elected official, I think we look at the whole picture always. We're always looking at the puzzle as a whole puzzle, and we're never really concentrating just on one piece at a time. And I think that is a better way, I think, because you have to look at the puzzle and you have to listen to your constituents, and those elections do have turnouts, and then they do hold you accountable for the decisions that you make. And you made some very valid points, and so I really appreciate your work, and it was very easy to understand, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councilor Sanchez?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I am very pleased with this study because there's a lot of debate going on in Santa Fe today, and it's gone on for the last several years about a separate governance of the water authority. And, I believe that water drives our land use cases also, and we deal with a lot of exceptional land use cases, and as Commissioner Quesada also stated, economic development. I believe that this staff that we have here has done an exceptional job over the years in the work that they have done. I think the policy board has been very conscientious in the work that we have done. And you said Colorado Springs did a study, and they made the decision to keep the water authority with the city councilors and probably the county commissioners. I know a lot of time is dedicated by this council and commission on many issues, but I believe that if anyone is versed on these issues, it's members of the board that are reaching out to the communities for various and different things. So, I'm in support of continuing the process that we have in place. But I saw one of these slides, I guess, is there going to be a meeting regarding this and a vote by the public? Nothing is passed the legislature, and this has to be done legislatively, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stebbins?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome, John. Always
you.
good to see you here.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about why Colorado Springs made the decision that they did?
Colorado Springs essentially concluded that they would like to continue having the water utility managed collectively with the rest of their municipal functions. That's the sort of classic question involved with these special municipal districts. To what extent do we want to slice off this particular activity of government and have it operate separately? There's a long tradition of special municipal districts in a wide variety of range, cemetery boards and, animal control services that are done separately. There's a strong tradition in the eastern United States of separate municipal fire districts that are different, that are outside of municipal government. Colorado Springs' decision was that it makes sense to manage these as a bundle of services together. And so in their case, it's electricity and natural gas as well. It's not just water and wastewater. So they're managing the whole portfolio, which is not unheard of approach, right? The city of Pasadena, where I first started working with municipal government, had its own electric utility, as well as a water utility and as well as the traditional city function. So it's the idea of splitting off a separate function or keeping it bundled and having the decision makers, as Commissioner Casada mentioned, having the decision makers thinking about how all these different functions interrelate.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions? You had a slide earlier about debt, and because the earlier public comment Ms. Hebert mentioned, I thought the comparison was, sort of apples to oranges about the city's debt versus our debt and our percentage in terms of revenue versus debt.
Yeah.
And so what you've done is you've compared other utilities.
I've compared other water utilities, and I didn't pick the benchmark. I turned to independent expertise, the Water Research Foundation, and their guidelines that they prepared as a study for the EPA, which is a sort of handbook for municipal utilities of targets to shoot for. So I sought out, and this is actually work done by a graduate student of mine, Fraden Jarrett, who's working on municipal finance analysis. He's the one who found and helped choose the sort of metric we used.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea was find an independent metric that allows comparisons across cities based on the standard accounting principles, and see where we fit compared to. And so there's a table in the report with, these debt coverage ratios for a whole bunch of utilities. You can see a huge range of them, but we are in the sweet spot of the target that the Water Research Foundation suggests. Not too much debt, but not also too little debt.
Right. Well, I believe this authority is extremely well managed, and we're very fortunate to have, I think, a very good manager and staff with a lot of integrity. And I think the question, though, was in terms of the debate that's been going on is about representation, and that some folks don't feel like they're fairly represented. But I sort of go back to, and I think a lot of folks have mentioned that, Councilor Sanchez and Commissioner Castada, is that we are elected, and we have to see the broader picture. And land use is directly connected to water. And as a result of that, we have I believe, a broader view, and our decisions, because of our experience in that area or our responsibility in that area, those two are connected. And I think that as a result of that, I think we can make we can certainly make informed decisions, that's for sure. Though, I mean, there's always people who feel like some of the decisions we make aren't very good, but that's true with any body. Also, that the idea that there's not one entity, or for example, that's appointing. We have two bodies that are appointing to this board, and so I think that's another important thing to remember. I imagine this debate isn't going to go away, but I appreciate your research on this, and I don't know if anyone else has any more comments.
Thank you much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Flood. Okay, that takes us to item 7, introduction, first reading of legislation. Mr. Alred. Welcome.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, I'll talk about items 7A and 7B at the same time. We were entering a loan agreement with the New Mexico Finance Authority. It's half loan and half a grant. The loan amount is $2.7 million. It's going to be financed over 20 years at 2% interest. The grant portion is $705,800 approximately, and this is to finish the water infrastructure system to the Los Padillas community. So it finishes phases 7B and 7C. The annual debt service will be approximately $157,000 a year. And if this is approved, and this is the first reading, the second reading will be next month. And if this is approved, it will be a closing on April 26th. I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Allred. Commissioner Casada?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for this work. As you all know, that this was something that was very near and dear to my heart to make sure that the people of the Los Padillas community have water. Pretty simple statement, you know, not as simple a thing to do. But I'd like to thank the Water Authority, Bernalillo County, for, you know, their dedication to Los Padillas. And I'm just hoping that we can get the rest of this done, and that's the will of this committee. But I'm hoping we can get the rest of this done, so we can finally just, you know, put a stamp on that and move on to probably other areas that probably we need to start looking at next. But again, thank you again so much for your hard work. I really appreciate it.
Okay, that takes us next to item 7, which is the consent agenda. I would like to move approval of the consent agenda. Second. So motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The motion carries. We go next to approvals, item 9. First item up is 9A, R19-1, amendment to the approved operating budget of the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019. Mr. Allred.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, this is a mid-year adjustment to our budget. It's to add $500,000 to our amount we pay for the U.S. Department of Interior for BOR for the work that we're doing on the San Juan Chama transmission to us up north. We pay a quarterly lease. The lease was, when we budgeted, was $166,000 a quarter. Now, because of the work they're doing, it's $304,000. So we added additional $500,000 in appropriation to pay for that. And then we're also adding a $636,000 appropriation to transfer for debt service for the loan that we closed on in April of 2018. And I stand for any questions.
Members, are there any questions for Mr. Allred? Yes, there are none. Is there a motion to approve? Second. Motion and a second to approve AR19-1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. The motion carries. We go to next to item 9B. This is C19-3, Service Connection Agreement for Water and Sewer Service with Coronado Park, Limited at 8401 Pan American Freeway Northeast. Oh, I guess this is a request of deferral of the Coronado Park Legal Counsel. I move to defer item 9B. So motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The motion carries. That takes us next to item C, C1910 FY 2019 second quarter operating financial reports. Mr. Allred.
And Madam Chairman and members of the board, thank you for letting me spend this much time with you tonight. This is our second quarter financial results. The first slide here is year-to-date operating revenues, and they're about $1 million less than FY 2018. They're above what's been budgeted. So, I mean, we're doing really well with our revenue so far this year. On the next slide, our year-to-date operating expenses, they're right in line with FY 18. We've about $90,000 less in 2018 and 2019. We've, as a utility, created a lot of efficiencies, and through those efficiencies, we continue to find savings in our operating expenditures. On the next slide is our operating expenditures by month. This is just basically taking what's budgeted and doing 1/12 of it and comparing it to what we actually spent for each month. August is very high. It's a lot of chemicals were used and spent for an energy to run the water treatment plant in the month of August. And July is a little bit lower, we would think the same thing, but it's due to like our debts, when our debt service payments and stuff are made, so a little bit less than July. Our days cash on hand is about 425 days cash on hand. It's well above the 1/12 we're looking for. It's below FY18, but I anticipate it'll probably at the end of the fiscal year be at FY18 levels or just a little below that. Year-to-date capital expenses. We spent a lot in FY18 because what we do is we transfer money to the capital program so we can create an appropriation, and then we work on those projects through the life of our project, which could take 1 or 2 years. So we appropriated a lot of projects in FY16, but we caught up on all those projects and finished them and spent the actual cash on those projects in FY18. And then so what this is really showing you is that we've really caught up with what we've been spending, and we're doing a better job with speeding up the projects that we have been working on, and it's the planning of our engineering group, which is really doing a good job. Our debt coverage ratio, it's a little bit lower. It was about 3 for our senior lien last year. It's a little over 2 this year. I expect that to go up. I would just say something, because we've been talking about this, but there's about 3,500 utilities that are bonded or have a rating for their bonds, and 7% of those utilities have a AAA bond rating, and we are one of the 7%. And it's to the direction of this board and all the hard work that we put into all this, that we're doing really well with what we borrow and with our capital and our debt service, and we manage it very, very well. So I just thought I'd throw it out there. Our water use production, again, we talked about this with the Water Conservation Group. Consumption is down. And it's below, the first 6 months, below what it was all the previous years. Revenue's been more stable because when we did the rate increase, we adjusted more of the rate for the water side on the base rate, and then we also increased the sewer rate last time we did the rate adjustment. So those have actually stabilized our rates a lot better. So even reduction of consumption is we don't have a problem like we did a few years ago where it really had a huge impact to our revenue stream. Same thing with this, is the same kind of dictation, water consumption, but it still runs about the same. Precipitation, you can kind of see when we have a lot of rain, consumption's down. So if you look at about July or August of this year, we had a lot of rain, and that level of production is less than what it was the prior year, which was more because we had less rain. So we had a lot of rain as well this fiscal year, and it's impacted our production levels. And I stand for any questions.
Are there any questions from the members for Mr. Albrecht on the report? I guess not. Thank you very much. Appreciate it very much. That is the end of, oh, that's right. I'm sorry you said so.
Madam President, I'd like to move approval of C-1910.
Is there a second? There's a motion and a second to approve 9C. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you all. Thank you very much to the staff, and everyone have a good evening. This meeting is adjourned.